Welcome to the biggest city in the biggest state in the continental USA. This is Houston, Texas. I want to show you how to make the absolute most out of a weekend here and then take you one step beyond. Besides dramatic architecture, cutting-edge science, great shopping and fine art, you can expect a warm Texan welcome. As soon as you arrive, you discover Houston is a city with a touch of class. Thank you, Captain. Houston has two big airports. The main international gateway is George Bush Intercontinental, 20 miles north of the city centre.
Thank you, Simon. Come back and see us anytime.
But if you arrive on a domestic connection or your own private jet, then you could touch down here at Houston Hobby, just 8 miles from the centre, where the golden age of flying is celebrated in the original 1940s air terminal. The Airport Museum has been miraculously resurrected and reveals an age when flying was the preserve of the rich and glamorous. Before the budget airlines were born, flying was as much about attitude as altitude. For a different, high-altitude perspective, not far from Hobby Airport stands a monument to a battle that changed North America. To get the big picture on Houston and the rest of Texas, the place to come is the San Jacinto Monument, 19 miles away from downtown, and from where you can see pretty much to the edge of Texas. Larry Spacek is the president of the San Jacinto Monument. So what happened in the crucial battle that took place here in 1836?
Sam Houston ordered his men to march across an open plain, unprotected, not knowing if the Mexican troops were waiting for them, and they found themselves on the high ground here from where they fired their cannons and rushed down towards the Mexican camp. It completely caught the Mexican commander and his troops by surprise, and there was a lot of confusion, and in that confusion it only took about 18 minutes to actually gain control of the Mexican camp and change the history of Texas and Mexico forever.
Houston may be the oil capital of America and Freeway City, USA, but getting around on public transport is remarkably easy. Metro buses run everywhere. There's also a rent it here, leave it there bike system and the wonderful light rail, which you and I would call a tram. It runs the length of Main Street for over 7 miles, connecting downtown with the museum district in 10 minutes flat. Flat fare, $1.25, which is at less than £1 in real money. If you're here between Monday and Friday, there's a free bus, the Green Link, that shuttles around the central area every 5 or 10 minutes, powered by compressed natural gas. In the heart of the museum district in Houston, the Hotel Zaza provides a theatrical take on Texas. Each of the suites has an individual theme. This one is the Geisha House, so you step from Texas into Tokyo. This is the bedroom. Around $400 a night, including tax, buys you this beautiful place to stay and a big Texan welcome. The hotel is right next to a light rail stop, but for journeys up to 5 miles, the Zaza offers what it calls a free magic carpet service. Actually, it's a car. The place I'm staying is right downtown and has carpets too. Hello, I'm over here. I'm staying somewhere which is more economical in terms of price, if not scale. The lobby is actually larger than the state of Rhode Island. The hotel opened in 2011, but the carpets, which by the way are English, were made, I think, in the 1970s. A bit like me. What do you mean? This is room 1902, and here's the receptionist. In fact, it's not. This is Scott Austin. the general manager of the Embassy Suites. Here's the waiting area if you have an appointment with me, and if you've got time, shall we walk down to the bedroom here at the end? This is it, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I haven't tidied, my staff haven't been in yet. If you think this is big, the director has got 2 beds. Just wait though till you see the bathroom. In case you were wondering, Houston is a great city of vision, beautiful, strong and alert, so it says here at City Hall. And just to place it on the planet, well, it's right in the middle. The best way to find your way around a new city is to ask a local, which is why I've come to meet Joy Huntington. Joy is a Houston greeter, one of the volunteers who shows people around. Where are we off to this morning?
We're going to see as much as we possibly can in a few hours, and we'll take you around the city.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Joy, I've just spotted my first astronaut.
Fantastic. Well, you're in Tranquility Park, named after Tranquility Base on the moon, here in downtown Houston, Texas. Here was Neil Armstrong stepping off and making his famous quote here on the wall about one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And people in Houston were kind of having to pinch themselves to make sure we knew it was happening, and it was happening practically right here in Houston.
You won't be in town for long before someone tells you how Houston is second only to New York in the number of theatre seats. Opera and ballet are world class. And Houston is constantly connected with the water that founded the city and helped it grow prosperous.
Well, this is where it all began. This is Buffalo Bayou and Allen's Landing. Charles and James Allen decided that this would be the perfect place to found a city. The original name was Harrisburg, and later it was changed to Houston. It was a very rough and tumble town, very rowdy, very raucous, lots of men, very few women, and had a very bad reputation. But we worked our way out of it.
Take a left on Texas Street and you reach the entrance to Christ Church Cathedral, a surprisingly dainty place of worship for so muscular a city. The JP Morgan Chase Tower is the tallest building in Texas, and at ground level it's decorated by this large Juan Miró sculpture. For a different perspective, 6 miles of underground tunnels lace beneath Houston and are open to visitors on weekdays. We're back at City Hall 3 hours to the minute after we started. It's been a fascinating introduction to Houston. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What is the one important thing I need to remember for the rest of my stay here?
Houstonians are probably the most friendly people on earth, and they'll help you do whatever you need to do and answer any questions you have.
That's terrific news. Thank you so much, Joe. Lovely to see you. Bye. A great Texas institution is the food truck. So I've come here to the Museum of Fine Art Houston's parking lot where, well, there's no polite way of saying this, Stick It is parked. Hello, what am I going to eat today?
The Korean barbecue pork belly on a stick.
On a stick?
Yes.
Never seen that. And do you actually cook everything in there?
Yes, we do. Full kitchen.
My
The
goodness
works.
me. Can I have a peek?
Absolutely. Simon?
Oh, how lovely.
Here you go.
Look at this.
Yes, sir.
Stick it, so to speak. And just round the back of the food truck, there's a sculpture garden, so you can have some Rodin with your rice and a bit of Bordel with your belly. In the mid-1950s, America changed dramatically. Disneyland opened up in California. McDonald's started branches across the Midwest. And here in Houston, the world's very first air-conditioned shopping mall opened. Today, there's 1 million malls across the city, but there's also some individual independent shops. Here on 19th Street, for example, in quick succession, you have Mexican art, you've got proper vinyl records, and then you've got, at the end, well, retail bliss. Johnny Winter, finest in Texas. Here in Bliss, you're guaranteed to find something you didn't know you needed. Whether you're buying trinkets or trousers, add 8.25% in state and city sales tax. I wanted to bring you to the Onion Creek Cafe because it feels to me like a rambling barn that's been here almost since the dawn of Texas, yet in fact it's just 10 years old. Don't forget to bring your ID to prove your age, just in case you're carded.
So, what will you be having? Since you're in Texas, almost certainly beer, and possibly quite a lot of it because it is delicious. This is St. Arnold's, one of the craft breweries that have been set up around Houston. Very tasty it is too.
The staff are much more attentive across town at the original Ninfas on Navigation Boulevard.
Oh, gracias.
Enjoy your parrilla mix.
40 years ago, this was a tortilla factory, and they still hand make up to 5,000 of those delicious corn pancakes every day.
But today, this is where Tex goes out for dinner with Mex, and you get to eat the best from both sides of the border. The most exquisite combination of flavours you can get this side. Of Tierra del Fuego.
On Sunday morning or any other day of the week, you can discover a place of worship like no other. Houston residents John and Dominique de Menil planned the Rothko Chapel as a sacred place open to all people every day. They invited the Russian-born artist Mark Rothko to create it, and he filled it with 14 dark and monumental canvases. The executive director is Emily Whitehurst.
We are sitting in the Rothko Chapel. It's a sacred space dedicated to art, spirituality, and human rights. It's not affiliated with any particular religious tradition. It's open to all, whether you're a believer of a particular tradition or if you find that no tradition fits you, but you still yearn for a sense of reverence. This is a place for all people. The Rothko Chapel is home to the majestic murals of Mark Rothko, and they are very austere, and in effect they create an opportunity for you to be in silence and quiet without being overly stimulated by visual input. And as a result, what you'll notice if you spend the time here is a deep sense of quiet and stillness and a profound appreciation for the majesty of these paintings. They're very subtle and they require time and care, and I would say love, to really experience them, but the sum total of the experience is a place of quietude unlike any other.
Almost next door stands the elegant shape of the very first building in the US designed by the Italian architect Renzo Piano. When Texans hear the word culture, they tend to reach for their wallets, but few benefactors have been as generous as Dominique de Menil, who has created in the heart of a residential area in suburban Houston one of the greatest collections of art in the world. And for you and me, it's free. The youngest piece of art in this cabinet is more than 4,000 years old. And here is a picture of a horse carved on a piece of bone about 15,000 years ago and found in a cave in Spain, now available in Texas. I may not know much about art, but I can read, and this is a constructed situation. He's Darren, by the way, nice chap. They do 2 hours, 45 minutes a time. Vance Muse has worked here for many years, the lucky man. Vance, this isn't your average art museum.
We're standing in the Pacific Islands galleries, which fascinate me along with the African rooms because they're so modern looking. These pieces, which are non-Western, can look so Western. It's the way a Cycladic figure, which is so ancient, can look so modern. And that's what you find in this museum, a lot of conversations between ancient and modern, and between Western and Eastern. It is not encyclopedic, but it spans centuries. And the way it's minimally installed, I think people leave here with definitely with an eyeful, but not overwhelmed. It's a rather small museum, a rather large collection, which is always rotating.
From works of art to, well, works of art, at least according to barbecue-loving Houstonians. Good Company has been serving up beef brisket since 1977.
Best barbecue in Texas, traveled all over Texas and eaten different barbecue, and I have yet to find one better.
Houston is a city for making discoveries, and I've just found what they've done with a couple of old parking lots on the edge of downtown. This is Discovery Green, a piece of countryside transplanted to the city with all kinds of activities, Zumba, yoga, open-air movies, though not all at the same time. And would you believe that in winter they transform this into an ice rink?
I met up with the park president, Barry Mandel.
Discovery Green actually came out of a community contest, and it was really about trying to dispel concepts that Houstonian had had up until that point. Namely, that downtown wasn't safe, that downtown was hard to navigate, that parking would be a problem, and the concept that overall Houstonians don't spend a lot of time outside.
What I love about Discovery Green is the way that amid all these high rises, it gives you such a sense of space. And talking of space, Houston was where the space race was won. And today, 40 years after the last moon landing, you can celebrate the greatest journeys that humans have ever made.
The great secret of Space Center Houston is that it is rocket science, and visitors get the chance to meet rocket scientists such as Lee Norbraten, who worked for NASA on that astonishing Apollo lunar program.
Well, the thing that stands out in my mind was the Apollo 13 mission, which had the unplanned event of an explosion in the service module, explosion of an oxygen tank that took out the electrical power, the propulsive power, the life support systems to the astronauts. And in an unplanned way, we had to use the lunar module as a lifeboat to bring the astronauts back to Earth. It is reflective of the level of risk that astronauts take when we go into space. We always plan for a completely successful mission. We always have a plan in the background that says if various things go wrong at various times, how do we get the astronauts back safely?
This is mission control. When the Apollo 13 astronauts said, "Houston, we have a problem," this is where they had to pay attention.
If you think there's a chance you might not make it as a rocket man or woman, you can at least touch a piece of the moon. Very long way from home. The final countdown for the Apollo program took place in 1972, but some giant relics of the greatest scientific adventure of all time remain at Space Center Houston, notably a real Saturn V rocket. It sparked memories for people involved in the moon landings, such as retired rocket scientist Bill Rothschild.
I remember the emotions that I had on that July evening. It was an elation that was hard to describe, and I think most of the folks who were alive on the planet at the time remember exactly where they were when that happened.
The moon is 250,000 miles away. That's a very long distance. If you were to fill your family automobile with enough fuel to drive 250,000 miles, it would take a lot of propellant. In fact, the Saturn V, which weighed 6.5 million pounds at liftoff, was almost entirely fuel. These are mostly empty tanks once the fuel has been burned.
The Space Shuttle program ended in 2011, and the fleet has now been grounded while NASA scientists work on the next generation of space exploration. But I was lucky enough to catch a glimpse of Endeavour hitching a ride on a Boeing 747 when it paid a final visit to the Lone Star State and its spiritual home of Houston.
Houston is the place where the impossible became possible, and where dreams came true with one small step upon the magnificent desolation of the moon. For my mission today, I've set the controls for the heart of the Texas coast, an historic resort beside a sea of tranquility.
And all just 50 miles from downtown Houston.
Galveston is an island with a 32-mile-long beach. It's also the Black Ball of Texas. There may not be any Kiss Me Quick hats, but there is a pleasure pier and 6 million visitors a year. In the late 19th century, Galveston was basically one big get-rich-quick scheme, with thousands of immigrants arriving every year from Europe and a thriving trade with the East Coast ports of New York, Boston and Philadelphia. This street, the Strand, became so wealthy with so many banks that it was known as the Wall Street of the Southwest. Galveston's position on the Gulf of Mexico has made it vulnerable to some of the most catastrophic hurricanes and floods in the history of the United States, culminating in 2008 with Hurricane Ike. And after you've explored Galveston on dry land, time to find out what made the city famous. Hello.
Hello.
From the quayside that welcomed generations of migrants to America, you can step aboard a boat for a fascinating harbour tour. The trip and the captain leaves you in no doubt that Galveston is a window on the world for Texas.
Galveston was the largest port in the United States for many years, rivaling New York. The sea is the very life of Galveston, good and bad. Between the hurricanes and commerce, most of the sharks are here, all different types, of course, dolphin, redfish, red snapper, a lot of flounder. We do different tours. Some of the tours we bring up some of that. So we play with stingrays, we play with jellyfish, we play with squid.
Galveston's a great antidote to high-rise, high-tech Houston. It's easy to get to and easy to enjoy. Houston's skyline is so big you could probably see it from space. And yes, this is a brash, boastful city, but it's got a lot to show off about. It's also, though, got a lot of heart and soul, and I do hope you'll be able to spend 48 hours here soon.
Listen to this. Do-it-yourself sound sculpture.
I've got... You're right. Sorry, I did that again. Right, okay, I'll try and get that right this time.